I think that's a fair comment, Hadley. I think the language around the meeting was very diplomatic. There hasn't been a lot of output, there hasn't been a lot of comment post-meeting. The Iranians said that the conversation was constructive. The Chinese have made some comments saying that everybody that remains signatories to the JCPOA is still committed to the deal. But actually, I think we're going to have to wait until what was a diplomatic meeting is followed by a ministerial meeting before anything more concrete and meaningful comes out of this.
It didn't seem, Robert, as if they were willing to move in any way when it comes to these tankers. Do you think that under a Boris Johnson government that we'll see any kind of movement there? I mean, we do know that he has relationships, obviously, with those in Tehran from the past as working as foreign minister. So one question would be how quickly he might be able to get something done here if he isn't too worried about upsetting Donald Trump.
Yeah, the Iranians are plainly making the tanker seizures an issue within these negotiations, and indeed the Iranians have said that the seizure of the Iranian flagged tanker off the coast of Gibraltar was in itself a breach of the JCPOA, though of course Iran had already admitted breaching the JCPOA with its stockpiling beyond the limits of the agreement. So to some extent the tanker tit for tat is a bit of a sideshow, but plainly that puts the UK in a particularly difficult position. It's one of the 6 parties that was involved in yesterday's talks, but of course it has this particular concern around the tanker that was seized in the Strait of Hormuz and is currently parked off the coast of Iran in direct retaliation to the tanker that the British seized off the coast of Gibraltar. Now, one suspects that there will have to be some kind of diplomatic solution to that in order to try to unlock the wider commitments or the return to the commitments of the JCPOA on behalf of Iran.
Do you think, Robert, that we're going to see a further escalation in tensions, more of what we've seen with respect to the drones, with respect to the tankers? Or was this meeting the fact that all of those signatories that remain part of the deal have now sat around the table and held discussions, a bit of a circuit breaker that we needed? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this was a good faith meeting. I think this was to try to keep talks alive, to try to ensure that the situation doesn't escalate further. But at the same time, of course, there are a number of parties considering contingency plans in case things do get more difficult, in case the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted further. We know that a number of the Gulf economies are looking at ways of bypassing the Strait of Hormuz for the export of oil, looking to use pipelines. And we estimate that around 50% of total oil exports at their current level could be moved by pipeline to avoid that choke point. Saudi, we think, could shift about 2/3 of its oil volumes, the UAE about half. For Iraq and Kuwait, that's not going to be quite so easy. And of course, the Europeans have now talked about sending naval fleets to the Strait in order to protect shipping, but Iran has made very clear that if they do that, they will consider that to be a further escalation of the crisis. So I suspect that everybody will be reluctant to take that step unless it's absolutely necessary.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.